Go ahead and bolt from side to side.
The entire Bay Area, Sacramento, California, and the rest of the country, but most importantly, to our men and women who have emailed me today from Iraq and Afghanistan saying that they are horrified by the effigies that they have seen on the television news. We do not want them to go for a moment thinking that this is how our country feels about them. That's why we've organized the candlelight vigil tonight.
Right on.
Let us hear a cheer for the men and women who are fighting this battle for us, the war against terror. Okay, so everybody just remember, stay calm, keep your candlelights going, and have a great time tonight.
Thank you, Melanie.
We conveyed a message to the Move America Forward group.
That we would like to have maybe 2 or 3 people at a time from that side of the street come in and speak with us and for a few minutes at a time, and then we can repeat that over and over until we can speak with as many of those people who were opposed to what we were doing as possible, so that we could at least give them our version of the story and then hear from them as well. And but our spokesperson, our representative who went out there and asked the spokesperson for the Move On group whether they would be willing to do that, I guess the Move On rep said,
Not Move On, Move America Forward.
I'm sorry, don't sorry, Move On. It's, the spokesperson for the Move America Forward group said, we did not come here to have a dialogue. We came here to support the troops. And so she made that decision on behalf of all of those people out there. None of them got to speak to us. Maybe they didn't even know that we wanted to speak with them, but we had to convey the message to somebody who was in charge, and the person in charge just made an outright decision for everybody there.
Peace is patriotic! Peace is patriotic!
I'm a resident of Marty Way. These are my neighbors. I know that the organization that put this on knew that they were going to be out of town. I don't know if they're actually here tonight. But I literally just got home from the hospital and the flyer was on my door by this organization, Forward America. And I found it so defamatory. I'm a licensed attorney. I believe that the Piercies, the owners of this home, is also licensed attorneys. And I looked at the flyer and I was so offended. They likened...
Do you have a copy of it?
I don't have it with me, but I have a copy of the statute of hate crimes under the California Penal Code. And the 2 young men that took down the uniform, I believe, violated the California Penal Code under not only vandalism, but also hate crime.
Peace is patriotic! 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 Peace is patriotic!
Because I'm very concerned about the war. I don't see any end. Don't see any end in sight. It breaks my heart every day when I wake up and know that the conditions of the people living in Iraq, how so many people here are not concerned about what's going on. This gives me a voice to be able to express that. I'm also concerned for the family here who have every right to free speech, which is what makes this country great, that there is free speech.
However, there used to be a concept in this country called fighting words. And that dummy up there with the noose around his neck was fighting words. I believe it created a public nuisance and incited a normally law-abiding citizen to find it morally correct to react. Perhaps he was wrong at the time, but I understand his motivations.
This is what's got neighbors so worked up. A U.S. soldier in uniform hung by the neck with a noose with a sign on it that says, "Your tax dollars at work."
And what's interesting is that after we told the media about this and said, you know, it's quite clear from our side that the soldier is the victim, the media continued to label our display as an effigy. And I think the primary reason for doing so was to continue the hype
to generate some some outrage within the community to keep the story like a hot topic.
Right.
Regarding the Piercys of Land Park, who have hung a GI and effigy over their garage door with a big sign on it that says "Your tax dollars at work," and it's angered a lot of people in the neighborhood.
And we don't go around using the term effigy very often. We both looked it up, and once we discovered the primary meaning, or a primary meaning, is that it's a depiction of a hated figure. Our first response was to let the media know anytime in the future that that's not, our display is not an effigy. That an American military person is not a hated figure, so
Right.
we don't regard it as an effigy.
Right. Our display was meant to show the U.S. soldier being the victim of government abuse, the way the government is using our military resources. So our intent was never to hang a soldier in effigy, as it was portrayed by the media.
Bush flag, soldiers die! 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 CIA, man! We like ours! We like ours!
It's just so divisive that, one group is on one side and the other is on the other, when the reality is we both support the troops. The Piercys put that up because they don't want the troops to die. I can't believe in my heart of hearts these people want the troops to die either. We both agree. The part that they're misinterpreting is the actual image of what was put up. It was very intense, but it was meant to evoke debate. And that image, they called in the flyer an effigy of a soldier. To me, the definition of an effigy includes a hated person. The Piercys, or the people who protest the war, are protesting policy, not the troops. The troops are there to defend America. They are there of the most noble reasons to put their life on the lines to defend America, and that's what they believe. Unfortunately, the people who are protesting the war believe that they haven't been fully disclosed of what the policies are of the United States government, and that's what's not being understood, or that's what's being misinterpreted. So I believe the word effigy should have never been used, because it's not a hated person. We are not against the troops. We are against the policy.
Hypocrites, Mom. They should learn something to say other than their freedom of speech. What are they saying? They don't love America.
Yeah, they don't love America, and they don't support the troops that keep them free. It's amazing.
I support right to freedom of speech, and freedom of speech works both ways. Just because you don't agree one way and you don't agree another way, you should still have your right to voice your opinion. It's our guaranteed right. And I'm here because I don't want my children to grow up where they're silenced. They're silenced because their opinion doesn't count. Everybody's opinion counts. And there's no right or wrong, but it's a right that we're guaranteed as citizens of the United States. And we're fighting for freedom and democracy somewhere else on a bogus reason with a bunch of lies, and people's lives being destroyed, families are being destroyed, and people have a right to speak out, and they have a right to do what they want within the boundaries of their homes.
I'm a veteran for free speech.
Bring them home! Bring them home! Bring them home! You got beat by an idiot! How's it feel to be beat by an idiot, huh? Don't put you in a good old place, does it? Yeah, you guys are real smart!
Basically saying we support Saddam Hussein and it's all or nothing in this type of world, so it's really upsetting to see people saying that we don't support the troops when we want them here home and alive. Thank you.
Bring them home! 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 Bring them home!
I come from a family that has a long history and tradition of supporting America. Both my parents were World War II veterans. and I'm very proud of being a citizen of this country. And part of that citizenry is supporting our Constitution and our Bill of Rights, and I find there's particular irony tonight in people opposing our Bill of Rights and the right to free speech, when in fact what they're supporting is a war that is supposed to be exporting democracy to other countries. And the war in Iraq and Afghanistan certainly is not about democracy. I mean, that is evident tonight when you see people across the street who would not recognize the Bill of Rights that was held in front of their face because they oppose free speech. So I'm here, long story short, to support our Constitution, our democracy, our America, and our Bill of Rights.
Estamos apoyando a los señores Pierce.
¿Por cuál razón?
Defendemos su derecho a expresarse libremente, primero que nada, su derecho constitucional, y enseguida estamos aquí porque nos oponemos a la guerra, a la invasión de Estados Unidos a países indefensos. Pero quiero reiterarle, estamos aquí principalmente para defender el derecho de esos señores de expresarse.
¿Y qué piensa de esa gente en el otro lado de la calle?
Pienso que están mal informados, pienso que no tienen un fundamento para hacer lo que están haciendo. No es solamente la guerra que están defendiendo ellos, están mal guiados, y pienso que están mal orientados por por las estaciones de radio derechistas. La radio ultraderecha incita a la gente.
Here because I love this country, and it was based on the freedom to say what you want and not be penalized for it. And I feel like these people are paying a heavy price for just saying what a lot of us believe and can't say or don't say, that the war is wrong.
All we saw were bright lights from media trucks and shining down below on all of these heads of people, just a mass of people from one side of the street to the other onto our lawn, and you just couldn't tell from that point whether those were supporters or not. But we said, okay, let's head down the street. So we're slowly driving down the street, and people are kind of moving over, and we started to turn into the driveway. And then we heard this big round of applause, and then we were suddenly relieved. And all right, we've got a lot of supporters here, because it was a loud applause,
and it was quite overwhelming to see the number of people that were standing on our lawn with just very creative signs, very creative messages that they wanted to show the public and show the neighborhood.
So Virginia and I want to first thank all of the people who showed up here tonight to show their support for the right to express dissent via the First Amendment over the unjust war in Iraq. And just wanted to let everyone here know that whenever we post a political message in front of our home, the intent is to leave it up until we think that message has reached a sufficient number of people who ordinarily pass by. And in this case, it's an understatement to say that our displays have done just that. So therefore, at this time, we don't feel the need to replace our soldier display, but we will never be deterred by those whose goal is to suppress our message. To those who ever decide to post a similar message or display, or one that's just as controversial, we want you to know that we will support your right to free speech with as much vigor and enthusiasm as all of the people who support us here tonight.
Thank you.
What do you have to say to the people across the street?
We've extended an olive branch to them and invited them over into our home.
We understand that they've rejected the invitation. We asked to speak, we asked if any of them wanted to come in, maybe in pairs, one or two at a time, and we could speak with them for a few minutes and then give another one or two people a chance to come in and talk with us.
And the offer is still open.
We'd like to engage in dialogue.
Yeah. You obviously, I mean, you respect the right to express yourself, but what about their decision to
We totally respect their right to express themselves.
And we would love to have them express themselves directly to us in our home so that we can engage in a dialogue. which is what this is all about. We need to start talking about the war.
Do you want criminal charges against the people who took it down?
So I want law enforcement to send the public the same message that they send to the public when before corporations come to town to talk about whether they're going to genetically modify potatoes. I want the message to go out that the lawlessness and vandalism involving free speech will be dealt with the full impact of the police. You recall the Ag Expo, for example, where police widely disseminated messages to the public well in advance of the event that they were anybody who planned on coming to town would be dealt with severely if they had any lawlessness in mind. Well, here we've had our display destroyed 3 times in broad daylight in front of reporters, and the police still have not even so much as placed an empty car in the front of our house as a deterrent. I'd like them to send the public a message that what's been done here is not to be tolerated.
How amazed are you by the reaction that all this has garnered?
I'm very surprised about the level that this has risen to, but originally I was thinking tonight would be an opportune time to speak with the folks across the street, and I hope they still take us up on that opportunity.
Do you regret it at all, just because of all the animosity?
No, this is wonderful debate.
I think it's actually encouraged other people who are beginning to question what's going on to come out and start asking those questions and to voice their opinions publicly. So I don't regret it whatsoever.
It's sparked debate, but do you guys feel like you've made a difference at all? Has anyone changed their view? Have you done anything except spark
Well,
debate?
we wanted to engage in a debate about the war initially with our display, but now it's become a debate about the First Amendment and how important it is to protect dissenting views. The speech that the First Amendment is intended to protect is not popular speech, it's unpopular speech, and so I think people need to remember that.
Are you at all concerned for your safety?
Yes, now I am, but I won't be deterred by people who try to silence me.
Leading up to sort of the media spectacle that took place about a month ago, when we first put up our soldier display, immediately within a couple of days, code enforcement was called out, and
they took pictures.
They took pictures, and not only were they informed of this particular display, but the neighbors who were opposed to our signs all along started giving them pictures of all of our other political signs that we had put out. So at this point, they were investigating not only this particular soldier display, but also all of the signs that we've put up in the past. And so we had a conversation with code enforcement. They investigated it, and they said, well, we're not going to cite you for it because this is well within your First Amendment rights.
Right. They went through the list of our different displays that we had over time, and they talked about the flags in our windows. They said, well, we're not going to cite you for the flags because those are flags of nations, and the city code permits flags of nations. And they said, well, we're not going to cite you for your soldier display because our city attorney who's looked into that has determined that if we cited you for that, since we don't cite people on Halloween for having their Halloween displays or other holidays, such similar displays, if we did this, it would be constitute selective enforcement. They didn't say that the reason they're not citing us is because the First Amendment protects political speech of this type. They said no, it's because of these other things. But what they're basically telling us is that all of this lawful activity that we were engaging in relating to First Amendment political speech they were investigating it, and they kept trying to send us this message that, every time you put something out, you're just inviting us to investigate you.
what the city should have done was speak to our neighbors who were making these complaints. Instead of defending us and saying, hey, look, this is well within your rights, we'll talk to your neighbors and tell them to stop harassing us by continuing to call for what they think are violations. Instead, they took the completely opposite position of continuing to
follow up on every report. Every time some neighbor, and this is only 3 neighbors on the block, the vast majority of people on our block, Marty Way, and throughout Land Park, are not opposed to this kind of speech. And many people have come by since and given us, shown us signs of support. When we're home, people drive by and honk and wave, give thumbs up. People walking by yell out, we support what you're doing, keep it up. So, I mean, this is just 3 neighbors who happen to be conservative, and they just don't like to see our signs of dissent.
So after our display had been up for a couple of weeks, and we had a conversation with the code enforcement official that they were not going to cite us for it, we got a call from the media, and I don't think it's coincidence.
Yeah.
I think it was probably one of those 3 neighbors that called, and then that's when the story broke.
Yeah, since they had been on this campaign to suppress our messages of dissent all of this time, and they had tried calling city officials, police, code enforcement, the city attorney's office, the city council, everybody kept coming back telling them, sorry, what if you guys don't like what they're doing, that's we can't do anything about it. So none of that worked. So that somebody, I don't know which neighbor it was, but one of them decided to use the media to try to put the pressure on us to censor our messages.
Frequently, my friend, people who do this kind of thing want to be able to do it and not have anybody get mad at them. You shouldn't be able to get mad at me because of what I said.
Well, I think they want people to be mad at them, but then they don't want their lives adversely affected.
Exactly.
And I'm not sure that's a reasonable expectation.
You guys have a wonderful day.
All right, you too, John. Thanks.
And there's breaking news that no other outlet has at this time. It's gone. It's no longer on the building. If you're watching on WB58 right now, that's an old picture.
And our buddy John is claiming that somebody else came by and snagged it.
He had nothing to do with it.
He just came by and saw it that way. Nice work, John.
And according to John, somebody came by and the helmet was down first, and some guy on a motorcycle came and hauled down the rest of it.
On March 11th, the Sacramento County District Attorney, Jan Scully, issued a press release on her website, and she has a list of cases of interest, and she makes the following statements in her press release. The reports of the first incident were sent to this office as a request for an arrest warrant for misdemeanor vandalism. We have determined that there is insufficient evidence to establish that a vandalism was committed because the person who allegedly removed the effigy did not damage it or any other portion of the property.
This young man was just walking down the street when he decided he'd seen enough. This man was riding his motorcycle when he just had to stop and do something about the soldier's pants hanging, so he took them down and grabbed the torso and took off. We asked him what he'd like to tell Steve Piercy.
Words wouldn't do it.
In Sacramento, Joe Orlando, Fox 40 News.
The District Attorney's Office also reviewed this case as a possible trespass violation under Penal Code Section 602K. Although the conduct reported might constitute a technical violation of the trespass law, it is so de minimis in nature that we would ordinarily not file charges.
And one of the great things that has happened, that has come out of all this, is that we've actually met a whole network of people in our neighborhood as well as in the greater Sacramento area that are very passionate about taking action.
Yeah, it's really backfired on the people whose goal was to harass us by getting the media involved because of the fact that, like she said, we've met this huge network of people now who we have all of these new friends who are, and we have all of these people stopping by, introducing themselves, people from the neighborhood, letting us know that they support what we're doing. It's people within walking distance, it's people within driving distance. It's overwhelmingly been signs of support ever since the night of the protest. And so that's been actually a wonderful thing to evolve out of this. And if anybody would ever ask us whether we would do it all over again, we would say absolutely.
And just for that reason.